The bizarre spikes poked the man, but unexpectedly, the spikes had life. A few hours later, the man becomes a monster. Hello, everyone. I am Alex, and today we'll be talking about a science fiction film called Splinter. Hope you like it. Sherman Gas Station is located in the middle of nowhere state forest, and it is managed by its owner, Blake. While Blake is waiting for customers to arrive, he decides to take a rest by putting a folding chair outside the convenience store, and he just sits there. Blake enjoys eating his snack for the same tiring sunny afternoon, then suddenly he hears noises from his back. Surely, it's something else, since there are no establishments or proof of life near him. He checks out the woods, trying to figure out what's in there. Then suddenly, being attacked by a strange creature, Blake is lying on the floor, full of blood and spikes on his body. On the other hand, a lovely young couple who is driving a long, endless way up into the woods trying to get camping. This couple is Seth and Polly. Seth studies PhD in biology, and his girlfriend Polly, who mostly acts like a guy in their relationship. Polly is very excited to camp because she's been waiting for this moment, celebrating their anniversary with the love of her life and making love under the stars. From Seth's point of view, camping in the wilderness is not really the best idea, but he still helps Polly to set up their tent, but while making amends with Polly for millions of reasons not to continue their camping, he accidentally breaks one of the tent's poles and pisses Polly off. Polly doesn't want to ruin the day and their whole experience, and Seth finally convinces her to find and rent a motel for a better and more comfortable place to stay in. She gets up with utter disappointment obvious on her face and starts repacking their things. They went inside the car and left again. As they are driving back to the city, the couple identifies various kinds of trees they are seeing along the way, distracting themselves from getting bored on a long journey. On the other hand, the couple, Dennis and Lacey, are stuck with their overheated car in the middle of a long, long road. Dennis is a middle-aged man who looks like someone who can kill you at any minute of the day, and his girlfriend Lacey is a young woman who drugged herself most of the time, making her pale and high. Since it seems impossible to fix their car again, Dennis decides to take out all their things, throw it into the forest, and start walking instead. The couple desires to cross the border of Mexico to start their new, most awaited life. Their hopes are too high, so are they. Back with Seth and Polly, the couple enjoys their trafficless road trip when suddenly they see a woman waving on the side of the road, who seems helpless and lost. It's Lacey. Their car had passed by her already, but they stopped to check if they really saw a human, not just a figment of their imagination. The couple first argues if they should or shouldn't go back to help the person, but suddenly Dennis appears on their side holding a gun and pointing at them. Dennis asks the couple to get out of the car. He attempts to kill Polly, but Lacey begs him to take them as hostages instead. He asks Seth to drive, but he doesn't know how, so Polly volunteers. While Polly is driving, Dennis raids the IDs and personal belongings of the two, and he finds out that Seth is still a student but studying PhD in biology. That gives hope to Lacey, and she asks Seth if he can give her prescriptions because she needs professional medical help badly. But Seth reiterates that he cannot provide one since he's not a doctor, not yet. It disappoints Lacey so bad. Though she is still quite high from taking drugs, that explains her paranoid thoughts, actions, and emotional response in general. Then suddenly, a big loud bump hits their car. They all scream in shock. They stop the car to check it out. Lacey initially thought they hit Ginger, her dog, who passed away. It gives her emotional distress again, but Dennis comforts her. When they get out of the car, they see that the tire is flat and needs to be changed. Dennis asks Seth to fix the tires, but he doesn't know how to do it either. It leaves no choice for Dennis to help Polly to change the tires. And before he does that, he gives the gun to Lacey to look after Seth. While Dennis and Polly are changing the tires, Lacey forces Seth to go with her to check out that thing. As they slowly walk near the thing, they see a spiky creature that looks unfamiliar to them. They never saw something like this before. It looks like an animal, but its features look like something else. But it's covered with its own blood, meaning it's a living creature. Seth tries to touch it, and it moves by itself when his fingers are inches away from it. When it moves, he and Lacey are so shocked, and she shoots it, only to make it worse. Fortunately, Dennis and Polly are done with changing the tire when Lacey and Seth run back to them. Dennis asks what had happened, but Lacey just keeps screaming. He initially thought that Seth did something to Lacey, but even Seth couldn't speak and looked pale. All of them decide to go inside the car again as soon as possible to run away from that thing. While in the car, Lacey becomes more paranoid and keeps saying Ginger's name. She wants to go back and help her, hoping she can save Ginger. But instead of listening to his girlfriend, Dennis dictates Polly to drive faster. Unfortunately, Polly's car also overheats and the smoke starts to come out from the engine. Dennis directs Polly to pull over to the nearby gas station, Sherman. When they pull over at Sherman, Lacey quickly gets off the vehicle and goes to the bathroom. Dennis tries to stop her, thinking she might leave, but she assures him she won't. However, Dennis just grabs Polly with her to go inside the convenience store. He asks Seth to pump the gas, and fortunately, he can do it. When the two go inside the store, no one assists them after saying hellos a dozen times over. No one comes out, but still waits for nothing. In the bathroom, Lacey can't open the door. She gets frustrated until she uses her body to open it. To her surprise, Blake's body is inside the bathroom, but he is full of spikes and splinters. His joints are twisted, and his face is unrecognizable. He looks like a monster. Lacey is startled and screams at the top of her lungs. She quickly runs back to where the others are. It alerts everyone, especially Dennis. He asks Lacey what happened, and she explains it to him. Dennis thought she was going crazy or hallucinating again, but in the blink of an eye, the splinter creature attacks Lacey. The others are astounded by the fact that the monster flees in a split second after getting through Lacey's body and leaves it dead. Luckily enough, Seth survives and they all run back to the store and they lock it. They are all panicking and want to get out of there, but as soon as Dennis sees Polly trying to make a call, he grabs the telephone and smashes it to the ground. He even pulls out the telephone cable and removes everything that can make a connection. Then he starts to notice from the CCTV that Lacey's body is still moving. Dennis peeks outside and tells everyone that Lacey might still be alive. He wants to go to her. Yet Seth and Polly didn't believe him and refused to open the door. It was for their own safety. As expected, Dennis is hard-headed and doesn't know how to listen to anyone. He slowly opens the door and walks towards Lacey. When he is beside her, Polly uses this opportunity to lock the door. Seth screams to his girlfriend not to do it because Dennis has a gun that is still dangerous. Dennis slowly pulls Lacey's body to bring it inside the store, but to his surprise, it is locked, so he shoots it. The gunshot causes the splinter creature to move again and attack again. Dennis drops the body and goes inside, but Lacey's body forces itself to go inside too. But they successfully close the door, yet it still leaves a piece of her chopped hand. After all the mess that just happened, Seth, a very intellectual man, decides to examine the creature instead of running for his life. He notices that the spikes are metabolizing and eating the human's blood. It's like a plant looking for water. He passionately explains to Dennis and Polly, who cannot understand what he is saying. Suddenly, Lacey's body stomps itself into the wall glass, making Dennis pity her. Dennis badly wants to help Lacey, but he can't, and they won't allow him to. Instead, the three of them run into the bathroom, hoping to get themselves out of trouble. The back door is made out of solid metal, and it's hard to open, so Seth tries to return to the counter to find the keys, but it's not there. He just grabs the screwdriver from the products and gives it to Polly. That thing surely helps. Polly removes the nails, and it allows the door to detach from the wall, and it opens. But to their surprise, there's another railing gate after the door, which is locked with chains. Suddenly, they don't hear any sounds of stomping or noises anymore, but footsteps on the roof. When the three of them get out of the back room, they see a policewoman outside pointing her gun at them and arresting them. Seth and Polly are shouting at her and asking her to return to her car, but she can't leave them or get them out of her sight. So the policewoman calls backup help since Dennis is also there. They've been Dennis manhunting him as one of the most wanted and dangerous criminals out there. Due to the circumstances, even Dennis is willing to turn himself in just for her to return to the car. The sounds of the footsteps are slowly coming to them. Suddenly, as the policewoman looks above, the monster kills her, cutting her in half. Half of her body is on the roof, while the other half is lying on the ground. Above, the monster is splintering her body. It's going all through her body. Inside, Polly laments and mourns for the woman. She feels too much hopeless and guilt because they aren't able to save her. Seth goes to comfort Polly and assures her that it's not her fault. No one else's. On the other hand, Dennis looks through his fingers, which are slowly getting infected. He remembers that he got a splinter by removing the tire earlier. It was all covered by it. It's getting worse and worse, and his finger starts to blacken. Meanwhile, while mourning and trying to process everything that just happened, they unite to think of a solution. When Dennis looks at the CCTV camera, he realizes they are in the middle of the state forest. This means that there are 10 feet between buildings and trees. If oil is poured, it will run down through the steps and across until it reaches the trees. So, he suggests that the only way to get out of there alive is burning the whole forest to kill the monster. Polly agrees with him, but Seth isn't. But since Seth cannot come up with an idea, they don't have a choice but to try Dennis's idea. Polly suggests using the lighter fluid meant for barbecues and firecrackers, instead of using motor oil, which will not burn anyways. Then, after planning a quick meeting, they all grab the lighter fluids they see in the store. Polly and Dennis start pouring out the gas outside the back door, and then it successfully reaches the grass part. Suddenly, they hear some noises coming from nowhere, only to realize that it's the sheriff's radio left on the ground. They hear some voices coming out from it. So Seth grabs one of the metal hangers hanging on the side, straightens it, and uses it as a stick to get the radio. When there is success coming their way, the monster surprises them and attacks. They aren't able to get the radio, but a piece of Lacey's hand reaches the small window, and it scares them a lot. Fortunately, Polly is holding a baseball and keeps pounding the hand, until she isn't able to stop it and the hand goes into the store. Seth and Polly run through the aisles and the hand is non-stop chasing them. It's like a monster with a superpower on its own. Seth tries to block by using fences and anything he grabs near him. It's all useless. Then suddenly, Dennis calls them both to go inside the refrigerator where he's been hiding there the whole time. Seth and Polly follow Dennis inside safely and survive from being attacked. Dennis strictly warns them to stay out of the glass because it will tire itself out. Polly is quite shocked about it and doubts that Dennis knows about something. And after some time, Dennis, who tries to keep his hands hidden, shouts in excruciating pain. His veins blacken and the infection goes up in his arms. He asks for a knife to cut his arm, so Seth gives him one. Dennis starts to cut his arms until he gets unconscious. Seth and Polly are worried sick that Dennis might die, so they do the operation instead. Seth continues to cut Dennis's arms, only to realize that he cannot cut them off completely with the cutter he uses. So he grabs one of the hollow blocks and smashes it into Dennis's arms until it gets off. After Dennis regains consciousness, he thanks Seth for saving his life. He also apologizes for underestimating him the first time they met. Surely he can't drive a car, but he can chop an arm off. Dennis becomes emotional and suddenly becomes vulnerable about his life and feelings. He tells them about his life and the struggles he's been through, how he and Lacey tried their best to have a baby but were unsuccessful, and how he killed a man that changed his life. Dennis came from a straight 5 days of being high and decided to steal some rigs. Then he shot the guy but did not kill him straight away. The gunshot just shattered his spine, left him comatose, and died a year later. The victim's mother faced bankruptcy because of millions of medical bills, while Dennis was just sitting in the penitentiary, existing but not living. So Dennis figured out to do only 2 things in life: get across the border with Lacey and make sure his wife was taken care of, while Dennis continuously shares his life story. A lightbulb moment for Seth. He figured out how to defeat the enemy through temperature. He grabs Polly and Dennis back to the counter and rewatched the CCTV footage since it's been bugging his mind a lot. He explains that the monster didn't go to him, even if it was right before Lacey earlier. It means that the monster only goes to hot surfaces, and since Polly's car overheated earlier, that's where it went. So Seth thought the best way to get out of the store was to lower his body temperature by refrigerating. Then go out to the store, go to the sheriff's car, and fly away from the scene. After some planning, Seth sacrifices himself as bait for the monster. Polly puts as much ice as possible all over Seth's body, and the objective is to make his body cold. Seth is slowly giving up due to freezing, but he keeps on going. When everything is set, Seth and Polly say their goodbyes and good luck to one another. Polly sets up the fireworks in front of the back door first, and the monster goes there immediately. Then Seth comes out from the store. Due to his weakened body, Seth couldn't walk faster, but he tried his very best to get to the sheriff's car. When Seth successfully gets to the car, he can't find the car keys. He tries to contact the police, but the signal is too weak and both plans are unsuccessful. on the other hand, the monster detects Seth to prey on. While Seth is doing his thing inside the car, the monster is just waiting for him outside. Dennis sees all these things happening, and their initial plan is not working, so he grabs the monster's attention by going out and lighting up more fireworks. But it doesn't work anymore. The monster runs towards Dennis instead and chases him. The monster successfully goes inside the store. Dennis and Polly try to hide inside the refrigerator again. Meanwhile, Seth sees what's happening inside and worries about the lives of Polly and Dennis. He grabs the shotgun inside the car and starts firing inside the store. It creates panic for the monster. Polly lights up the last fireworks they have, and it quickly reaches the oil on the ground. They successfully created a massive fire. And while Seth is firing, the monster gets out of the store, and Dennis and Polly use the opportunity to get out as well. The monster is unstoppable, and Seth gets weaker and weaker. So Dennis decides to take their shotgun and fire with his one hand left, and is able to shoot and stop it until the monster gets at Dennis, and the monster is splintering all over his body. Dennis knows he is dying and grabs his necklace and gives it to Seth and Polly. He carefully instructs them to go to Platt, go to his bank, and use the key. The name on the necklace was his victim's wife, so Polly and Seth need to give her the money. After that, Dennis asks them to get out of there as fast as possible, and Seth and Polly walk away. Then, Dennis fires the flammable sign and blows up the whole gas station, which also leads to his death. Polly and Seth didn't take the car and walked in the middle of nowhere again. And that's how their anniversary goes.